Welcome in to the Be More podcast. That's also kind of why I set it up right here too, so that way
Nice.
it's a constant reminder of being more.
It's good location.
It's really good, and it looks good. You know what they say, you look good, you play good. That's what Deion Sanders says, at least.
Fact.
So, all right, well, this is the Coach's Corner. I think this is Coach's Corner number 4, which is fun. I haven't had you on the new setup, so welcome, Wade.
Well, thanks.
We're twinning today with our cool shirts. Where'd you get that shirt?
I know a guy.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, he printed them.
Me too. I know a guy. Actually, it is a guy who printed them. Maybe. Anyway. All right. So if you guys have listened to us talk before, we like to go through a list of things, give our take if they're overrated and or underrated. This is just really fun. It's a fun way to get our take on certain things. We're going to stick mainly with health and nutrition, but we kind of branch off on. Actually, there's nothing we really actually branch off on. So let's get it started.
Knowing us, we're going to branch off on something. So
I know. Good news is I locked the doors and I turned off the lights, so no one's getting in here for the 4:00 class. All right. So first off, overrated, underrated. We're going to talk about vaccines. Just kidding.
I was going to say, are we going there?
Just kidding. We're talking CrossFit, overrated or underrated?
Depends who you ask.
Yeah, that's fair. I'm asking you though.
I think it's very underrated as far as the health and fitness industry.
Yep, same. Very underrated. I think for the general population and the needs of the general population, as far as understanding fitness and health, very underrated.
Yeah.
Cool.
And I don't think coming from having the exercise science background, like in college and stuff, is that they teach us very specific way to do things, and CrossFit kind of goes against the normal, if you will, and I think it still rubs people the wrong way, and I don't think people quite understand it the way that they should, so that's why I think it's underrated. So.
Yeah, same. I agree, and I think obviously that comes down to the teaching of it, but just how simple it is, I think so many people can benefit insanely by just doing it.
So it's functional movements. That's what it is.
It's literally life. And you know, some of the arguments is, well, people get hurt. I'm like, okay, well, I'd rather have a tweaked shoulder than a cardiovascular disease.
Well, and
that might be excessive, but
and when you look at it, is okay, why did they get hurt?
Yeah,
it's usually not something that happened. They might have got hurt doing like a snatch or something, which could have been the reason, but they have really bad shoulder mobility and they were put in that position, so that's why they got hurt. Yep. It wasn't that specific thing, CrossFit, that hurt them.
Yeah. They're like, oh, well, CrossFit. Anyway, I won't talk about that anymore. Cool. Meditation, overrated or underrated?
For somebody who's really never done it, I think it's underrated because not many people do it. Okay. But then the ones that talk about it, all they talk about is how they meditate. So it's like, yeah, dude, we get it. But
you get it. You are practically Gandhi. Yeah, I would also agree, though. It is very underrated. I would throw maybe gratitude or journaling in that same category. So I would say underrated, honestly.
So I think it's one of those things that you just got to do, though.
You have to.
And it's very hard to get into, it'd be like doing yoga. Yoga is kind of a meditative state that you're kind of in, but I think it's hard for people to get into that to make it a habit.
Yep.
So, yeah.
Yep, I would say. And especially people, there's this argument, I guess, if you will, that, people are saying, oh, well, you shouldn't need the gym to build mental toughness. You know what I mean? Mental toughness isn't built by doing burpees until you throw up. You know what I mean?
Right.
Mental toughness is being able to, for me at least, to be able to react to certain situations in a controlled manner, to not get emotional when emotions are running high, to be stoic in a sense, right? And so I think meditation, gratitude, journaling, I think all of that kind of aids in that mental toughness piece that people are like, oh, that guy just, sits around and closes his eyes and meditates.
Right.
No, the world could be falling apart, but you could still kind of be in such a good mental state that that you're fine. You know what I mean?
Well, and the different books I've been reading is they talk about meditating a lot, but it's more of like connecting with what's going on around you.
Yeah.
And I think that's super, super important because a lot of times like you're distracted by everything, especially with the media and everything else going on around you.
Yep.
So that's how they describe it, is like their way to kind of like recenter yourself and this is what's important. This is what's in my control. So I think it is important that way.
Yeah.
I think it's just very hard to get into doing it though.
Big time. I tried it one time last year, like height of the pandemic. Excuse me. And it pretty much, it's this YouTube video, and it says like, okay, you're relaxed. They're like, now feel the warm sun on your foot, on your left foot, and slowly feel it coming up your body. I didn't feel anything. I was so distracted. I was like, how do I make this happen? I was like squeezing really hard, but they were like telling you relax. So it's tough.
It's hard to turn off your brain. And I think we all could use a little more of that.
Yeah. Big time.
Yeah, it's hard to do.
Big time.
Very hard to do.
Cold showers.
Overrated. Overrated.
I disagree, sir. Very underrated. Very underrated. I don't know. I don't know the exact science from cold showers. All I use them for is kind of I guess I could say I use them as a meditation in a sense, because like when the cold hits, your lungs immediately want to shrink up, right? And then for me, typically when I'm put in a tough situation, I want to tense up, right? So it's learning to relax when, say, there's external stressors on you. And so that was my biggest benefit from doing that. Maybe it does something internally with your hormones and fat loss and whatever, but for me, I used them primarily just to learn to relax.
Right. And I think staying calm in like that situation is the most important thing, because your initial reaction is like
tense up.
Right.
Yep.
But I feel like there's better ways to do that than taking a cold shower. I don't know, but
all right, we'll take a cold shower together.
Wait a minute.
Yeah. Whoa.
Are you bringing your crop top?
Yeah, definitely crop top.
Okay.
Maybe. But no, and I think too, like it's actually very refreshing. I'll say cold showers / cold plunges, like whenever we go hiking up in the mountains, or whenever it's been like a hot summer day, just to go down to the river and just plunge in the cold water. It is nice. Yeah. It is.
We did
nice.
ice baths there for a while.
Yeah.
Like why? I don't know. You're just I don't know.
Yeah, I get it. All right, this one's going to be fun. Pre-workout.
Highly overrated.
Yes, I agree. I'm not even going to argue that.
Yeah.
Very overrated.
Like, the reason you take pre-workout is because you slept like shit the night before.
Big time.
Sorry for cussing.
Yeah. Shame on you, Wade.
Dang. Sorry, guys. But, yeah, like, especially in stuff we do, like, your heart rate's going to get jacked up to, the 180 area anyway. Why are you going to take something that boosts your heart rate even more? Like, I just think they're very overrated. Yeah. And I think as a society as whole is that we don't get enough sleep. And so it just kind of carries over to the next morning where you're tired, right? So you drink a pot of coffee or you take your pre-workout, and that's just how you live in this kind of really high state. Yeah. So, yeah.
Well, and sometimes like I think pre-workout is overrated if you take it if you need it to function, right?
Yeah.
It's kind of like you need booze to deal with your emotions or drugs or whatever. It's kind of like that same thing. I think if you use it sparingly, like if you're like, this is my emergency pre-workout when I had a bad night's sleep or stressful day at work or whatever, that's a nice boost. But I think pre-workout in general, like when people are asking, oh, what sort of pre-workout should I get? I'm like, what are you eating? I like McDonald's maybe twice a day.
Well, let's start there.
Yeah, exactly. Or how's your sleep? And they're like, I get like 6 hours, maybe 5. Definitely start with sleep. That's a better pre-workout, I believe. Cool. What about creatine?
I think that's very underrated. That's probably one of the most studied supplements is creatine, and it works. Like, there's no doubt that it works. And how it works, I don't know if you guys are familiar with creatine. When you ingest it makes your cells able to retain more water. So therefore your muscles grow because they're able to hold more water. That's why it's super important to drink
lots of water,
ton of water while you're taking creatine. But the science behind it is that it works.
Yeah. And it's one of the most pure supplements, if you will.
It's found in food.
Yeah, exactly.
So
it's just straight creatine. Now there's some creatine mixes out there that have some other crap in it. But overall, yeah, it's probably one of the cleanest, most pure and effective supplements, if you will. Shh. Marcos is over here overhead squatting while we're trying to record. Cool. Reading ingredient labels, not the carbs and protein, not the macro piece, but what's in food.
The actual ingredients.
Yeah.
That as far as like overrated or underrated, you need to read them. But I think that goes along the lines of like people don't know what they're looking for, right?
Yeah.
So like the more you kind of dive into like the nutrition side of things is you look for different oils that they use. You look for different words for sugar, right? You look for stuff that isn't so that is bad for you, right?
Yeah.
And so the whole thing that I've read before is if you don't understand what something is, if you can't read what it is, don't eat it. But
exactly,
you look at every other label and it's like, oh,
so much. Well, and even like, Whole30, I think Whole30, not so much paleo, but I think Whole30 is no sugar, no processed sugar. I think even in CrossFit's Fitness in 100 Words, like the first part is about nutrition and they talk about, no processed foods or no processed sugars or something of the sort. So I think too, like that was always my rule of thumb is just read the ingredients. So like when you get ketchup has so much sugar, like insane sugar. Barbecue sauce has so much sugar. So you can get the Whole30 approved, but then you start just reading and looking at it. And if you want to simplify your way of eating, that's a perfect way to do it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it could say gluten-free, which we'll get to that here in a second. I mean, if you're like gluten intolerant, and if you learn sort of these other substitutes for gluten, if you like crackers or chips or cookies or whatever, like it can say gluten-free, but it could still hold properties of gluten because of the other ingredients they're putting in it, right?
Right. Well, and that's the other big thing too is like when you look at ingredient labels is because they try to trick you. Like they say it's sugar-free, right? Which, okay, yeah, the thing says 0 grams of sugar, but it has sugar substitutes. And if you don't know the names of those, like you're just eating artificial sugar, and that stuff is more potent than actual sugar.
Yep.
And so it's, are you really doing yourself a favor by having the 0 sugar?
Exactly.
Or not?
Exactly. I think just accept it. Go to straight sugar. Go to the source, baby.
Go to at least you
sugar.
know it came from sugar. Like it's not made in a lab somewhere. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Cool. So along those same lines, let's start with this: counting calories.
I think that's very overrated. Counting calories I think is overrated. I think macros. If you're going to count anything, count macros.
That was a follow-up.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. That was a follow-up. So I agree. So I agree with the macros 100%. I believe counting macros. God, I say calories and macros are properly rated in the sense of if you count them correctly, because they both essentially correlate from each other, right?
Yeah.
It's just easier to count macros because those are the certain macronutrients where like you can get 2,000 calories and 90% could be carbs.
Right. Yeah. And on the flip side, if you eat a ton of fat, you're going to get your 2,000 calories from one meal.
Yep.
Like if you eat a very high fat meal.
Exactly.
So, yeah, as far as counting anything, like if you count macros, you're going to have a better balance in your meals is what it's going to be.
Exactly.
So.
And I think if that's a number you wanted to obsess over, macros is definitely the way to go because they go off of percentages of what your body needs. And that essentially gets you to your calories anyway.
Right.
But
so, and for like the members that don't know, like, so if you're counting macros, so like a gram of protein is 4 calories, a gram of carbs is 4 calories, and a gram of fat is 9 calories. So if you eat a meal that's for, say, easy, if you have 10 grams of protein, 10 grams of carbs, and 10 grams of fat, right? So you're looking at 40, and then 90 calories. So that's quick math. 130, and
That's
I don't know, but you guys get the point, right?
Oh, we'll just say about 200
yeah,
calories.
around 200 calories. Yeah. But that content is going to be different than if you just ate, 200 calories of just fat.
Mm-hmm.
Like, though it's going to be a different quality of calories that you're eating.
Yeah.
So,
I feel like if it's tiered, I think for easier entry to understanding what you eat, calories is a better way to go. Then you go into the quality of it, right? Because if you're seeing, okay, for lunch or for my calories are good for breakfast and lunch, but then dinner just skyrockets. Well, maybe I need to cut portions down for dinner or whatever. Like, it's easier for us to say, like, eat higher quality foods, but there's just some people that don't know what that looks like. You know what I mean? So then once you like get the calories and you get your portions, then I think moving on to the macros is a much better way to go, because then you could say, okay, yeah, now I am trying to get eggs and greens and bacon for breakfast to get a more sort of balanced.
Right.
So,
and that's the other thing. Like, if you're counting calories and say towards the end of the day, you have like 1,000 calories left, like you can just eat a tub of ice cream and that's 1,000 calories. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yep. But 1,000 calories is a lot of actual food,
high quality food.
And so if you're just looking at the number, yeah, you can eat whatever, whether or not it's going to be good. Like, your carb ratio is probably going to be way up here. Your protein's going to be down here, and then your fat's going to be somewhere where it should be more kind of here-ish more with balanced. Everything, right?
Yeah, that was fun.
Super fun.
Yeah, and we get, dude, and you and I kind of nerd out on nutrition, and I know you and Shauna and me and Shauna, like we all nerd out on it because I think there's really no one way. Like, for us, I think it's just a simple eat a bunch of veggies and eat whole foods. Right. And if you want to splurge, but eat it, but make it to where it's a balanced splurge,
right. Or just at least portion control.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly.
Don't eat the whole pizza, eat 2 pieces.
Or 4 pieces, and then you get 4 for lunch. That's not what I do. Cool. On that note, do you think eliminating sugar and gluten is overrated or underrated?
I think it's very underrated, but it's also very hard to do because, like you mentioned with the ketchup, is that sugar's in everything.
Yep.
Gluten is in a lot of things too. Yeah. So I think it's very hard to eliminate those.
Yeah.
But, some of the stuff that I've read talks about the gluten, and like the wheat plant itself isn't even the same plant as it was 50 years ago. So that's all changed. So like our bodies can't digest it. So that's why you're seeing more and more people have gluten allergies or like they're intolerant to it type deal. So the plant itself is changing what's in the food, and now the food is making people not be able to digest it. So it's a whole thing.
Yeah.
And you could do a whole podcast on just that. So,
well, and I think eliminating is difficult because, like you said, sugar's in everything. But then that just like, I think it's, again, properly rated in the sense of like, what do you want to do? I'm not going to eliminate sugar and gluten because I really enjoy it. Like, tortillas are probably my favorite thing. So you're going to expect me to eliminate that just to like feel better. But I will only eat it maybe once or twice a week.
You control it.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
So it's not completely eliminating it. It's just having a handle on it.
Yeah. And I think too, if sugar or gluten messes with your gut to the point that you're feeling like crap all the time, then obviously
it's time for a change.
Then it's definitely time for a change. Cool. Let's keep on this nutrition kick because there's probably about a couple more. Kale, overrated or underrated?
Is that the reset body? That's the reset for your body, right? Is kale?
What? I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, not a lot. I don't think a lot of people eat it.
Yeah.
So I'd have to go. It's underrated.
Yeah. Definitely underrated. I think I can't do it.
Not even the kale chips.
Not even the kale chips. No, not even the kale chips. So I'll say it's underrated, but I just can't.
Yep.
I won't touch it. Fruit.
Underrated.
Definitely underrated as well.
And that's the thing, eliminating sugars.
Yeah.
So, I mean, fruit is technically sugar, right? But it's also a different kind of sugar because it's a natural one, and your body has to break it down differently than the sugar that you dump in your coffee, right? Or, the fake sugar. So it's different.
Yeah. Well, and it has micronutrients that come
Right.
along with it where I can't speak on, but I'm pretty certain regular sugar does not have some micronutrients. I don't know if sugar has vitamin D or not, or vitamin E or A or B, whatever. Anyway, fruit, yes, very underrated. Um, Going vegan or plant-based, I should say, means that you're healthy.
Is that a question or?
It's the way that it was phrased. I think this person like gave their opinion on whether it's overrated or underrated.
Gotcha.
But
Gotcha.
just the concept of saying I'm vegan or plant-based, therefore I'm healthy.
Okay, so that's one thing that kind of annoys me is
It's even worse than CrossFitters.
yeah,
Yeah.
it really bugs me. So like if you have an actual allergy to like meat or there's something preventing you from eating meat,
Or if you just don't like them, if you like the animal cruelty thing.
right,
you know?
exactly. There's an actual reason that you're going vegan or doing that, then, by all means do it.
Mhm.
But if you're doing it just to say, "Oh, I'm doing vegan and I'm healthier than you." Like
Yep.
that's what I have a hard time with is because no, you're not.
You're not.
Like
No, you're not. Just go eat some grass clippings and be
and
quiet.
there is studies that say like, okay, yeah, eating plant-based diet is, better for you. Some of the biggest animals in the world are vegetarian,
Mhm.
right? But like we're humans.
Yeah.
And like our basic instinct is to hunt and to eat animals. Like I don't.
We're considered omnivores, right? Because it's an
Well,
omnivore.
omnivore is plant-based.
That's herbivore.
Carnivore,
Carnivore is meat. Herbivore is plant.
and omnivore is
I
a
think
combo.
I think omnivore is the combo.
Okay, well, anyway, there you go.
Maybe that just pertains to dinosaurs because that's all I remember.
Well, there
is
you
that
go.
From dinosaurs.
Well, there you go.
Yeah. No, I agree. I think anything really like keto, and we'll talk about that in a sec. Going keto, paleo, plant based, like does not immediately mean that you're healthy, because there could also be like you can say, yeah, I'm gluten free, but all the gluten free options are probably crappier than just eating some basic sprouted
And again,
bread.
if you don't have an allergy to it, why
Why?
do it?
Exactly.
I
It
don't.
makes no sense. If I could eat cereal, if I can go back to eating like cereal, I would do it in a heartbeat. Well, I can't eat cereal. If I could eat it with like some whole milk, oh my gosh, I would love it. Cool. Meal prepping. Overrated, underrated.
It's very underrated.
Same. I agree.
Yeah, I think but again, going back to what people know, if they knew how to do it, I think more people would do it.
Yep.
But along those lines is like that's going along the lines of being prepared for your day, right?
Mhm.
So not letting yourself get in that position where you're at work and you're starving and you don't have any food, and so then you go to the vending machine and you snack on stuff, right? So I think it's just being prepared for your day, which is the big kind of like compounding thing,
Yeah.
of the nutrition. So
Yeah. So in like the meal prepping does not have to mean specifically pack your lunches. It could be just that, like your snacks. Like maybe your lunches you're fine. Maybe you're like, oh, we got the cafeteria. I
Right.
can eat salads, whatever. But maybe it's those snack times that you need a meal prep, or maybe it's breakfast that you can never really hit.
Mhm.
So that's exactly what I did with Zeke, and I brag about him all the time.
Right.
But like my lunches is where I failed religiously, and
Right.
so having him prep or even meal prep service, having him prep has like done so many good things for me.
Well, it frees you up and you don't have to worry about it.
Exactly.
It's like it's done. Like you know that you're eating good quality food.
Yep.
It's already ready. You don't have to think about it.
Yep, exactly. Dope. Last one, and then we're going to take a quick break. Cutting carbs. Not like slicing bread.
Very overrated.
Very overrated.
Yeah, and then like the carb thing's hard, right? Because we talk about, different kinds of carbs, sugars and all that fun stuff. But, the people that do keto, to say they do keto, they cut out carbs.
Yeah.
Like your body is designed to run off of carbs.
Mm-hmm.
Now, carbs in excess, obviously anything in excess is going to be bad.
Yeah.
Right. And so that's where you run into problems is if you eat too many of your calories that are carbs
Mm-hmm.
or too less that are protein. Like, again, kind of going back to that balance thing, is you have to find a balance of your carbs and how they can burn in your body. Especially if you're working out, you need carbs.
Yeah, no, 100%. Well, especially CrossFit sitting,
Right.
right? And then two, carbs are just easier to find. They're so easy to find. Literally, you can at the grocery store, you can look in every aisle and you'll probably find something with carbs, But again, it is that balance. I honestly think out of macros and from a macro spectrum, it's easier to hit carbs, so people get like afraid of it, but they don't realize that there's a reason why your whatever it ends up being, like 1.5 your body weight in carbs or double your body weight, whatever. There's a reason why you need those carbs. So
right, and yeah, and that's hard too, because like you don't want to overdo it, but then you also don't want to underdo it because then you won't have any energy. Yep. So, yeah, I have a hard time with like the keto diet, because like ketosis is your body's starvation state. Like if you were stranded in the wild, you didn't have anything to eat, your body would go into ketosis. You would start cannibalizing yourself, and that's what it does. Is your first 2 weeks in keto is it starts eating your glucose stores, right? So you have your stores in your body, it starts eating those, and so you start losing weight. And so people do keto for 2 weeks, they lose 15, 20 pounds, and they think that keto is the best thing ever. Yep. No, all you did was you just used up your extra stored carbohydrates in your body. That's all you did.
So in reality, you were below your caloric count for that day.
Exactly.
And so your body burned more than your body intake.
Right. Your body started using its own stored energy for energy is what it did. So I don't know.
It's science. I agree though. I think cutting carbs is silly. And I used to be paleo, and I loved it, but you run out of food to eat really quick. Like,
but even paleo, you still eat carbs.
Paleo still eat carbs,
right?
So I'll say Whole30 based,
right?
Because there's really I'll say processed carbs, whatever, like rice, bread, toast, stuff like that. I used to cut that out, but then I've realized I can eat rice and I'll be fine. And I actually feel a lot more energized with rice or with tortillas or with some bread. But like when I do it daily, that's when it starts to bother me. So don't cook carbs. All right, we're going to take a quick break. We're going to come back. We're going to talk about fitness stuff. We finished with the boring nutrition stuff, so it's fitness. So we'll be right back. 2, 1. All right, and we're back. I really needed a loud noise.
That was good. That was good.
So for editing purposes, I need a loud noise so I can sort of match the audio and the video. I was literally about to clap, and Marcos just drops his barbell. So nice. Perfect. That actually worked out great. So thank you. Anyway, all right. So we are back. This is part 2. We're talking overrated, underrated. We had a really good talk on nutrition. So now let's get into the fitness side of things. We have about 15 minutes, so we'll crush it. 20 minutes. Anyway, cool. Where are we starting? Oh, odd object training and or strongman. Well, let's say odd object.
Odd object training?
Yeah.
Very underrated.
Same.
It needs to be done more,
in
my opinion.
And that includes like sandbags, Atlas stones, farmers carries.
They do the yoke carries.
So your non-typical training, like pull-ups, barbell stuff, dumbbell stuff, kettlebells.
Right. Because, it really, like in real life situations, nothing's going to be perfectly balanced like a barbell.
Yeah.
So like picking up sandbags or carrying something off weight, like a bag of dog food, is going to be your odd object. So I think it needs to be done more for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Chalk.
Underrated, man.
Wow,
underrated.
Bro.
You need chalk for everything.
Even for running, you need
even
chalk.
For burpees.
Even for burpees, you need chalk.
Even when you
Yeah, I always just love on like Mondays when the gym is nice and clean. And then it's like burpees or push-ups.
It's like or Tuesday rolls around.
Yeah, it's like push-ups for the warm-up, and everybody has to chalk up for push-ups. And I'm like, guys, come on. Chalk is very overrated.
Dang.
I actually don't use that much chalk, except when my hands are sweaty. It is nice.
Yeah,
but
I don't think it's necessary. I think CrossFitters kind of they definitely overdo the chalk.
CrossFitters are very, very overrated. Cool. The same line, grips, gymnastic grips.
I like them.
You could say properly rated.
I would think they're properly rated. Just because, like the people that say, "Oh, I'm never going to use grips." Okay, well then, when you do Murph, you're going to rip your hands, then you won't be able to do anything for 2 weeks afterwards. Like, so get grips, do Murph, and then you're able to come back in 2 days and be fine. You know.
I agree. They're properly rated. I don't really use them much, but I also don't do as much volume as I think people who actually use them, you know.
But they are nice though. They just keep your hands safe so you can train the next day, right?
Well, not even train, do life stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, exactly. Like, okay, so I'm going to throw this one in. Ripping your hands, overrated or underrated?
Definitely overrated.
Thank you. Yeah, definitely overrated.
Overrated.
I think like anybody who takes pride in ripping their hands, or any gyms, like any gyms who show that their members rip their hands, I'm just like, why? We're trying
Exactly.
to we're trying to create a good. We're trying to show people that we're safe, and you're like, "Oh, look at my hands! I can't use my hands."
I think that goes in like the CrossFit culture though, because they kind of wear that as like their badge of honor,
like
the rope
shins.
climb, like shin burn, right? It's unnecessary though.
Yeah.
Like if you're trained to the point where you're ripping your hands every single time, either A, you're overdoing your training, or B, you're just not taking care of your hands. Yeah. So I think it's very overrated.
Very overrated.
Yeah.
You hear that, Marcos? We'll talk about this in Marcos's podcast, but the first workout Marcos did, he ripped his hands, and then the next workout he had to do pull-ups again, and yeah, it wasn't good. It was not good. All right. RX divisions versus open or scaled, or let's just say RX divisions, overrated or underrated, and we're talking competition setting.
As far as like
doing RX, being in the RX division.
I don't know if that's like an overrated or underrated question though, because it's like
it's kind of.
I think it would be. It's hard because like in training, like when you write up like a prescribed workout, people want to shoot for that workout, right, or that workout weight, but you got to go where you're at, right? Yeah. So I think like you want to strive to be that RX division, or you want to strive to be that RX athlete, but understand that if you can't do some of the things, like it's okay, like you're not a failure type deal. So yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, that one was a hard one. But the people asked, got to give them what they want. Back squats.
Well, I think they're underrated. I think that the back squat and front squat are probably the two best exercises you can possibly do.
So I will agree with you for the front squat. I think the back squat's overrated. Okay. I think the front squat is very underrated.
Front squat is very underrated, for sure.
Because I think the back squat, a lot of people can compensate for poor mechanics, and they could just lift a ton of weight. Front squat, front squat's hard because obviously if there's limitations in the shoulders or in the lats, like that's going to limit you. But I think just for overall, like how the movement pattern is, and then the core strength required, I think front squats are very underrated.
Front squats are very underrated.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then like if you get into the powerlifting thing, like you have the low bar back squats. Yeah, exactly. You can do different types of squats, but those are kind of really advanced. Yeah. If you don't know what you're doing.
Well, it's specific.
Right.
Because they're actually trying to compete.
Right.
Cool. Bench press.
I think it's overrated.
Yeah. I think it's overrated in the big box setting. I think it's underrated in the CrossFit setting.
Okay. Yeah, exactly. So you go to a Globo gym, everybody bench presses. So Absolutely. It's very overrated because who needs to bench press 500 pounds?
Yeah.
You don't.
Exactly.
CrossFit setting, though, is that they almost never do it. And so you almost have one extreme to the next where you don't do it. So I think there's got to be some sort of balance of it.
Absolutely.
So I'm with you. I think it's overrated in Globo gyms, underrated in CrossFit boxes.
We are getting very specific.
Yes.
All right. On that same breath, push-ups.
Underrated.
Very underrated. 100%.
I think that you should be able to use your body. You should be able to control your body weight.
Exactly.
And push-up is a pretty good indicator. If you can do push-ups, you're relatively strong.
Yep. So the thing I always found funny was individuals who could bench press a lot, and their push-ups looked like they were humping the floor. Yeah, it was so bad, and I was like, was like, how?
How-
Like they have at least 225, 250 on the bar, so
And they-
they're plenty strong,
and they can't do push-ups.
and they can't do push-ups, or they can't do high volume push-ups. I never really understood that. Split squats,
Underrated.
very underrated, highly underrated.
Mhm.
I've seen a lot on like Instagram though. I'm seeing a lot more people doing them, so I don't know if I'm looking for that more or if people are actually doing more of it.
Mhm.
I
I
feel,
think, and some of the people,
No, you're
that I've
fine.
been following is the people that kind of get out of doing certain things. They go back to kind of like rebuilding their body. I think they find the value in single leg training or
Yep.
in, one arm training just to find those imbalances. And
Yeah.
that's why I think they're very underrated because people don't understand that they have that imbalance.
Yep.
And so, yeah.
Exactly. Well, and even it's not on here, but step ups, kind of the same breath. Let me ask you this side question: if you got to do one movement, and I know it's not relevant, or they're not relevant to each other, relevant. um, would you do split squats or step ups for the rest of your life? You can only choose one.
I would do step ups. We've had our members do those step downs, like the slow step downs.
Yeah.
To kind of mimic the pistol squat.
Yeah.
But I think step ups
I agree.
over the split squat.
I agree. I feel that you can load more through split squats, but I feel like it's truly a single leg movement when you do a step up. 100%. Dope. Let me see. Oh, Olympic lifting. So like snatch, clean and jerk. We won't get into specifics.
I think, and I love Olympic lifting. I think for the general population, it is very overrated. I don't think that 60-year-old Karen that comes in here needs to be able to snatch. I don't think that's part of the thing. It is unfortunately part of the thing in CrossFit because you need to be able to do them.
Yeah.
But what do Olympic lifts train? They train explosive power.
Mm-hmm.
So, is there better ways to do that? Safer ways to do that? I think so.
Absolutely.
But like I like Olympic lifting, so I'm kind of biased on that. So
sure. Yeah, I'd say probably properly rated as well. I mean, you talk about kettlebell swings.
Yeah.
Can mimic very similar patterns.
a box jump,
a wall ball, a thruster. I mean, I know that gets more into weightlifting, but like to train heavy squat snatches for the gen pop, I don't think is.
Now, I think the clean is easier for people to do for sure, and I think that training that movement pattern is good for people because it's also safer, right?
Yeah.
You're not taking a weight over your head. So, yeah, I don't know. Are they necessary? Probably not.
Yeah, exactly.
But
you're never gonna have to snatch a baby,
right? Well,
you never know. All right, last one. Cardio.
Overrated.
Definitely overrated. 100%.
Just lift weights faster.
Just lift weights. Just lift weights really fast for time and for reps.
But like, if you ever do a Tabata front squat,
yeah,
with 95 pounds,
oh yeah, with an empty barbell,
4 minutes, and your heart rate will be jacked.
Yep.
Yeah. So like, I would say long distance cardio is it's something that I struggle with.
Yeah.
Just because I get bored.
It's boring. It's really, really boring. Yeah. And I think like you do need that like aerobic base, but you can still gain that aerobic base from doing weightlifting and strength training. You know what I mean?
I agree. Just cut down your rest times.
Yeah. Just cut it down. Just do a 40-minute AMRAP.
If you did a 40-minute EMOM.
40-minute EMOM.
Of one power clean. For 40 minutes. Your heart rate's going to be about like that 130, 140 level.
Yeah.
And that's similar to running at a treadmill at a nice, easy pace for 40 minutes.
Absolutely. 100%.
And what's going to build more muscle? What's going to make you more explosive?
Yeah.
Running on a treadmill or
athletic.
Right.
I like athletes, so I want to be athletic. All right. Do you have anything else that you want to add to this list?
No, that was kind of good.
That was fun.
That was good.
Yeah, that was a good fun one. Marcos, you got anything else? You got a exercise that you want us to dish on? Okay. Marcos is talking about.
Marcos is on his diabetes.
He's on his diabetes stuff. We'll have you on to talk about that. Cool. Well, thanks for joining us. We had a live audience with Marcos. Thanks, Marcos.
Yay.
Hold on. Thanks, Marcos. Appreciate it. Appreciate it a lot. Yeah, he was very supportive the whole time. Anyway, that's all we got. Well, thanks for joining me, Coach. This was fun. We'll do this again. Maybe next time we'll do it with like non-fitness and nutrition. Step outside of the realm of things. So, anyway, that's all we got. Thanks for
Cool.
joining. Stay tuned. Peace.